It gives me great pleasure now to introduce our lunch speaker and my friend for a long time, Barry, who is the CEO of Open Matters and the author most recently of a book titled Social Nation. If you haven't read it, I think I would urge you to read it. I think it's very well worth reading. Known Barry for a long time, got to know him initially through a project that he was working on with John Spector, who was then the Vice Dean of Wharton Executive Education. It was a book titled We Are Smarter Than Me. It was a crowdsourced book, and it was at that time that we got to know Barry. And since then, he has gone on to write a number of books all in this space. And he's going to speak to us today about social media and how it can be used in corporate governance. He works with a lot of boards and leaders and CEOs. So please welcome Barry Tibbert.
Thanks. Thank you all very much. Great session this morning. Can I get you all to stand up, please? What I'd like you to do, I'd like you all to say hello to the person or persons at your table, but here's the important part of the engagement. I don't want you to care about them. I don't want you to really want to know them. I don't really want you to understand what their wants and needs are. I want you to understand for a moment that they're not likely to buy something from you today or even tomorrow. So if they're not going to buy something from you, what's their importance anyway? So say hello to them as if they don't matter, please. No, you're cheating already by laughing. But I want you to say hello to them as if they don't matter to you. There you go. That's the right attitude. Very good. You can all sit down for a second. Now, to show you why that really does matter for a second, when you go into a store, any store, and they ask you, how can I help you? Do they really mean that? What words do they really mean to say when you walk into the store? What can I sell you today? Is that surprising anybody? Give me the one store that you walk into today and they say, how can I help you? And they mean it. The local merchant is one, Apple is another, but it's really hard to find organizations that mean what they say, right? They're supposed to be speaking English, but they're speaking business speak. And none of us are surprised by their business speak. And therefore, it's no surprise that when you call customer service and they say, how can I help you, you really don't believe them anymore. They're really asking you for sale again. So let's wonder for a second why businesses and leaders and governments again and leaders are at an all-time low in terms of trust. Because if they're asking you something and meaning something completely different, you no longer trust them to be on your side, to be for you, to help you achieve your needs. As I always say, most companies, if not all the companies I work with, when they say service, they misspell the word. They spell service S-E-R-V-U-S. The only company that ever asks me, from a service perspective, is Apple, when are you available for us to call you? Any other company you know besides Apple that does that? When are you available for us to call you? Like I'm flying US Air this afternoon. Do you think they're going to call me if there's any problems in Boston? Some may. They might. Okay, let's get started. So if you think about it, what's leaders' new reality? Leaders' new reality is they have a revolution on their hands. Everybody is covering and carrying a weapon of mass destruction, a WMD. And then this WMD has been used for powerful purposes. It has brought down 12 countries in the Middle East. As much as America wants to send armed forces to the Middle East, all they had to do is send Apple, Google, Twitter, and Facebook with no loss of lives, and citizens took down Gaddafi. WMDs took down Kodak and RIM and HP and Best Buy and now Staples. Companies are going to fall prey to their customers and citizens using WMDs to fundamentally alter the economics of their business. Now, what did we see today in the competition? We saw some amazing examples of social media tactically being used in an organization to achieve new ways to innovate, to participate, to engage, and to accept for a moment that everybody's carrying a WMD. And if they're carrying a WMD, organizations are slowly accepting the reality that they need to engage with these people that are running crazy, called customers and employees, investors. And therefore, if they're going to engage with them, they're going to have to start accepting the fact that the technology that their customers, citizens, employees, investors are using are faster, better, cheaper, more agile, less expensive than the organization is using. And it's going to be viral regardless of what they think. So what's rule number one? The risks for not understanding are three. Think about for a second Deming. Deming asked a question. He was the king of quality. And he studied quality around the world. And he said a question to leaders at the time, what's the cost of not delivering quality to your customers? What's the answer? Anybody know the cost of not delivering quality product to your customers? No one knows the cost. You lose your customers. Well, what's the cost of not knowing what your customers are saying? Anybody want to give me an answer? What is the cost of not knowing what your customers are saying? You lose a lot of customers. Not just one, you lose a lot of customers. What's the cost of not knowing what your employees are saying? What's the cost of not knowing what your investors are saying? What's the cost of not knowing what your partners are saying? Let me ask you with a question. Guys, how many of you guys? Hands up, guys? Good, guys, just make sure you know this question. Guys, have your wives or girlfriends ever asked you, pay attention to what I say? It's my birthday this week. You might want to bring home some flowers, guys, to your wives. Did you not hear me? How many of you are divorced? Anybody see that commercial a while back when there's a guy driving out into the wild, wild blue? After 3.5 hours, his wife turns to him and says, I think we're lost. It's time to ask for some directions. He says, no, I'm still looking. Anybody have that problem with the guy? Your leaders. Anybody get lost from a leadership perspective? You're wondering, what the heck is my CEO thinking? Where the heck are we going? So what's the 4 stages that we learned from these engagements? We learned there were 4 stages of listening for leaders. One is that they listen in ad hoc ways. We saw a bunch of ad hoc, piecemeal solutions through this first competition. Congratulations for Strategy 1, Ernst & Young, and the rest of you for realizing that ad hoc, this is social media leadership 1, is a part of any leader's journey. They put the toe in the water. The second thing they realize is, whoa, this might have some more problems or opportunities than we imagine. We need to plan something on a more profound basis. We need to think about, we're having a conversation with Shrem that was saying, what do we think about planning something now and not have this thing run viral with 1.5 billion people using it and 4.5 billion people using cell phones? We may want to plan this thing, not just have an ad hoc solution. So we plan something. We get some increased capacity. After a while, we get organized around it. We go, whoa, because all these people and all these customers and all these employees and all these investors are empowered, we might want to organize it. We may want to make it cross-functional. We may want to engage people in it. And then finally for leaders, they want to integrate it into their organization. They become, this is the important part, a technology company. In the beginning, they're an insurance company, a healthcare company, an accounting company. That's all my clients. They're a financial services client who happen to use technology. In the end, they are a technology company that just so happens to be in a specific product or service area. There is no other industry left than being a technology company. But until leaders stop thinking about themselves in a product service center, they can't think of themselves as a technology company. The second thing leaders need to do is see. Listening is the first part. As a guy, I got to tell you, I've been married I'm in term. Now you should know I'm in my 7th term. They really should have term limits for men. I don't know why women haven't figured out that there should be term limits for men. And you should have to opt in, and then we should be voted in again in our term limits. See if women really accept us. So the second is we need to see after we hear. Well, we need to see these things. One of our winners developed new methodologies. One of our leaders developed creative new ways to save lives. One of our leaders structured the organization to achieve constituent needs. One plan for the CEO. Wow, to be integral to the whole process. And the result is engagement. I'm now engaged with the people that I'm supposed to serve, not they're supposed to serve me. So what do I learn? Multiple mediums by which to engage. Here's a good example. I was working for GE Healthcare, big business. And we were having a conversation with Bayer, the healthcare company. And Bayer was telling GE, we don't anymore have any requirements for technology. Bring your technology to work. Use Google Mail if you want. Use an Apple device. We don't require you to use Microsoft SharePoint, and we don't care which device you use. Use your own at Bayer. It was wild for GE. No, you do it our way at GE. And they couldn't understand why. And the Bayer people said, because we've got a technology department to run. No one's using it anyway. Why bear the cost? Unless, of course, I don't trust you, which I don't anyway. So we learned here that there are multiple platforms that can be available. We learn by adding innovation. I don't mean innovation product. We innovate in the way we think about our lives. We innovate in the way we think about who you are. We innovate in the way we think about our business processes. We end up with, success. We might end up with some surprises. Look at the great things you all accomplished. We end up with success. We did something different. We imagined that you were capable, and the result is we ended up with some success. The third thing we realize is I'm violating my own rule. Let others speak. Most of my CEOs are fantastic at literally hogging the room. But this is probably the most important point. That most organizations, for necessary to integrate the concept of being social, let me change the word, for being human. This is human media. This is human reality. This is about humans interacting with humans. This is about being of the human kind. Not the product kind, not the finance kind, but of the human kind. And if we're of the human kind, then we have to deal with our reality, that billions of us are now interacting. This is the first time in all eternity when billions are connected without regard to religion, to race, to creed, to finance. They're connected because they're of the human kind, and they seek kindness in each other. And I'm using kindness in a profound way. I can be of kindness with the people I meet. I can help people find the ways to potentiate others because I care, because I'm of the human kind. So therefore, they have to deal with the reality that billions of the humankind are online. And the humankind wants to self-actualize. And therefore, they need social intelligence to understand what it is someone else is seeking to potentiate around. Their loved ones, their family, their culture, their products, their services, their needs, their healthcare. And they need to capture the insights about where humans are seeking to potentiate to enable businesses to prosper. And therefore, leaders and boards will follow one of two courses. They will either become socially intelligent so that they can avoid the problem of my first client, AT&T. Alan and Walter, the chairman and CEO, and Michael Armstrong, believed that AT&T was a business of ping and pipe, poles and strings. And I guaranteed Michael and all the rest of them they would go bankrupt because they were not a network small n. They were a network big N. A network with 75 million people who wanted to talk to 6 million businesses and each other. And they were measuring and managing the wrong things. They were measuring assets, not human endeavor, not human interactions, not human potential. And they went bankrupt. There is no AT&T. For all of you, that's called Southern Bell. So what happens when you allow people to potentiate is what you've all seen in your stories. So what's the real example now of most organizations, in my view? See if I can get this to work. My view is this is what most organizations look like.
Hey there. Long time no see. Looking good.
Yeah. Let's just keep this simple. I want a divorce.
What now?
I think you heard me just fine.
Come on. This is me. What's wrong?
We don't talk anymore.
I just put down a mill on a TV commercial just to talk to you.
Exactly. You do all the talking. I never get a chance
Talk on our website, can't you?
Sure. If I want to say, order this product.
See?
It's not exactly a dialogue.
What about the print campaign, You can't tell me you missed the billboard in Times Square. That was like a 200-foot tall declaration of love.
You're saying you love me, but you're not behaving like you love me. It's not genuine.
I don't know. The agency said I was genuinely being funny. Genuinely being charming. They said you would love everything I did.
Could you keep your voice down? You're not doing a radio commercial. Look, whether you're funny or not, it's just, I've changed, and you haven't. I mean, we don't even hang out in the same places anymore. You're not even listening, are you?
Coupons. You want coupons, don't you? Look, come by the store. I got 2 words for you. Loyalty, reduction. Am I right? That was it, wasn't it? Let's just hug.
If you knew me, you'd know I don't care about that.
Know you? Sweetheart, I know everything about you. You're 28 to 34. Your online interests include music, movies, and laser hair removal. You have a modest but dependable disposable income. Am I the only one not getting the problem here?
I'm out of here.
Oh, come on. Don't be like that. Look, I'll tell you what. Come back here tomorrow. I'll give you the chance to win a Bahamas vacation. There's a small chance, minuscule, but technically still a chance. I want to be like the old days.
What's incredible to me is that Microsoft did that commercial. Now, how many of you, first of all, are from Microsoft? Well, let me ask the next question. How many of you have a relationship with Microsoft? A real relationship where you think Microsoft... You can turn this off. No. Let me ask the question. How many of you think Microsoft has a relationship with you? How many of you think Microsoft cares about you? That's pretty incredible, right? Microsoft has 660 million desktops. You would think that they should understand that after 10 years of going nowhere, that they should try to build a relationship with their 660 million people. Because then maybe they wouldn't release a new product, tablet, that no one's going to buy. Because maybe they came late to the game because they weren't connected. I have some friends who work with Microsoft. They said, Barry, it's dreadful here now. None of them likes to like working here because every single time we miss our sales budgets, all we're measured by is economic benefit. So if we're going to reimagine leadership in a world that is of the human kind, then what do leaders have to do? They have to train in our social age realities. They have to understand that we're now in the social age. We're not in the information age, which was about data. We're not in the technology age, which was about software and hardware. We're not in the industrial age, which is about making cars. We're in the social age. We're in the age about you and me. We're in the age of we. That is our reality. And the good news, I'm really thrilled about it, is we're going to take down leaders who don't get it. We're going to get them fired, not just once every 18 months. We're going to shrink their duration, because that's as long as CEO was around. We're going to shrink their duration to a month, because we're going to immediately put up posts and blogs and tweets and say that this guy doesn't get it. The second thing we're going to begin to think is thinking simple about being human. About being human. About understanding the fragility of our lives. Of understanding the importance of our children. Of understanding the differences that have taken place in the world. Look at this room. It's not a bunch of white guys. Like my son always says, Barry, how did you go, Dad? How did you go to business school in New England? I said, a bunch of white guys. We grew up in Westchester County. We played a bunch of tennis and golf. We got admitted to Ivy League school. Who the heck knows? We all went to business school. That's not the way it works anymore. He says, well, Dad, that's not the way it works. It's around the world. All these international people. It's not the way it works. Think simple and holistically, but start ad hoc, which is what you did. Third thing we need for leaders to do is to practice their leadership skills. There are 4 skills that leaders need to master. PQ, I'm big, you're small. I lead, you follow. I tell you what you do it at your own risk. If you don't, you know where the door is. That's called PQ, physical quotient. Next one, IQ, I'm smarter than you. This doesn't work so well in this age. My wife's as smart as me. I am bigger than she is, so PQ works well in the agrarian age and in the Stone Age. So I could move more stones than my 5'4" wife. But in the information age, IQ, she's sort of pretty good. She can search as well as I can. She can go online and do data searches as quickly as I can. We can both type. We both passed that course a long time ago. Now here's where I begin to lose out as a guy. EQ. There is no doubt in my mind that my wife, who is Dean of Students at Harvard Medical and Dental School, has got me nailed. EQ, she's got it. Now here's where women really begin to rule. SQ, social quotient. That's why the Dean of Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania, my son went here, my younger son went here, when she got up, she's a woman, and talked about the collaboration generation and wondering where the leaders are, she was talking to their generation, not mine. So they have to master their social skills. They need to practice it every day. And then finally, they need to tune the social intelligence of themselves and their organization and align around the human capacity of individuals to make the company great. So they need to use intelligence, because if they don't use technology, they don't get it. There's a little problem here, though. Most of the executives still have secretaries doing whiteout for them on their screens, though, now, as opposed to on paper. So this is still pretty good, but they need to listen. They need to monitor. They need to connect the data sets to reporting how well they're doing so they get feedback. They can analyze it so they have a better understanding of how well they're performing. And then they need to finally adopt and adapt their behaviors to yours. They need to put you first, because you come first. They need to count, as you did today, all the ways that humans, together with social technologies, mobile technologies, and the cloud, can help companies prosper. So let me ask you some questions. Let's start with HR. How can social technologies help leaders understand what HR can do? Can you help me out? So they can help by helping understand employees as something other than expenses. They can understand the capacity of humans and their networks as something more than a cost to doing business. Profound opportunity for the HR function. What else can they do? Any other suggestions?
They can drive the people's engagement across their organization, which means it's a dialogue and not just a one-way message downwards.
Fantastic. They can engage the people where they're at, and by doing that, it's not a one-way conversation, it's a multiple many-to-many conversation, which will build culture in and of itself versus saying, we value people. Only kidding, you're just an expense. We're going to fire you when times get tough. Next one. Any other ideas? Sure. Wow. We can match people with skills to places where we need skills. All of us need to know that 3 years ago, the Nobel Prize was on that. What they were able to show is that around the world, there's no lack of skills. This is Nobel Prize stuff. But what was missing was the ability, your name please? Martha identified the big problem. Matching people with skills to places where their skills were cherished and valued. And what they were able to show through search algorithms was, until we begin to think about people as having unique skills and unique values, we don't use traditional search technologies to match them to where the opportunities are. Cool, thank you. Next one. Any thoughts? Sure, then.
Speak in a voice that people will understand instead of speaking in a voice that you understand. Kind of back to my Mars and Venus reference.
So do you want to explain the Mars and Venus reference between, if you want to stand up and just give me your view on businesses from Mars. I think you stand up and give them this view. Stand up so you can give it so you can hear this view.
Well, I truly believe that companies or brands are from Mars and consumers or customers are from Venus. Because just like the book talks about men and women in the way they don't talk to each other properly, that's what's going on, especially with senior management. It happens in two places. It happens with brands and companies talking to consumers, and it happens with CEOs and C-level people talking to their employees. They're talking in a voice that most of them just don't understand, or even afraid to understand, because they just want to deliver what they're expected to deliver. They don't want to deliver anything innovative or anything that's thought-provoking, because then they chance getting fired. So I also think we have to empower failure and encourage people to fail.
Fantastic. When you recognize somebody as being a human of the humankind, you begin to speak to them in a way that they understand, in a way in which you can understand back. Any other thoughts? Thank you very much. Any other comments? How much time do we have? Are we out of time? I guess not. 5 minutes. Great. Any other questions? Okay. I appreciate that. I don't think so. Any other thoughts? Sure, go ahead.
Recognizing the number of women that are contributing in the workforce these days to create environments where they can fulfill their roles as caregivers to the next generation with the roles that they value they bring to the company.
Profound message, profound message. Understanding women's roles in society and the multiple roles they have to bear to make sure society works. Now, how many of you guys have given birth? Guys, we're women. Come on, you're not guys yet. How many of you guys have given birth? Women bear the burden of, women, help me out here. Women bear the burden of giving birth and taking care of kids and helping society prosper. It is not fair nor reasonable not to understand the burden that they bear in delivering and supporting and caring for us as we grow. Not appreciating that difference is just unfair. And therefore modifying and amending behavior so that they accept the reality that as different as we all are, we are different. My kids always ask me, what was Title IX and what was ERA? Anybody know what ERA was? Equal Rights Amendment. So my kids are 22 and 25. They're both boys. And one of the first rules we set for them is you own your own actions. We will not help you. And the second thing is women come first. They must be respected. And it's interesting. They go, why do you care so much? I go, well, do you guys know anything about ERA? And they go, it's that. And I go, Equal Rights Amendment. They said, what was that? I said, it was a right to give women equal rights. They said, that passed, right, Dad? I mean, that must have passed. I said, no. They're like, seriously, what was Title IX? I said, that was sports equal rights agreement. They go, well, that passed, right? And I go, no. Now, they can't believe in their generation that these things weren't passed, right? Now, whoever you voted for, whether you voted for Romney or Obama, it doesn't make a difference. What did Romney not see when the day was all done that had him lose the election, according to statistics now? Sure, go ahead. He didn't have the woman vote. What he didn't see is that the world has changed. Look at your faces. This isn't a population of white men in this audience. The world has changed. Just to give you the statistics, this is the first time in American population elections when minorities counted for more than a third of the electorate. It's an amazing statistic. And it's changing ever so often. So we are changing, and we're equipped with technologies that we carry that empower us. How many of you, as one of my boards asked me, Barry, to prove your point, how many of your kids would give up one of their 5 senses or give up one of their technologies? What would your kids do? Give up the right to smell or to have one of these things? They give up one of their senses before they give up one of these devices. They live on this thing. Tomorrow, when you go back to your offices, what's the one thing each of you can go back and try tomorrow, given what you've learned today? Can I give some recommendations? So people go back with practical advice. Anyone to give me recommendations about what they can do tomorrow that you want to give other people as a recommendation they can start tomorrow in their offices? Any recommendations what people can start tomorrow doing? Sure. Smile more. Why smile, Ted?
Smile increases your own happiness, it makes other people feel good, and it's something you can give away for free that people will always return.
Fantastic. Smile more. Yes. Wow, treat people like people and not objectify them. Next one, anybody else? What can they do tomorrow that's simple in your organization? Any other thoughts? Sure, go for it.
Pick up the phone every day and call somebody you haven't spoken to.
Wow.
Just say hello and make it easy. So, I mean, you guys, like, women don't understand why do we not answer the phone when we call because we don't want to be held on the phone. How's your day? What are you doing? You can't just say, hi, how are you? Do the same thing for people that you want to reach out to. Reach out, let them speak if they want to. If they don't, just say, is there anything I can do to help you today? And move on. Make yourself accessible. And it scales because they'll talk about it and tell other people that you're doing it.
Cool. What else? Sure. Thank you. Absolutely. Write and say thank you. Say thank you to everybody. The people working hard when you get on the plane or the train, they're working their best. Saying thank you, like people say, why do you say thank you all the time? Because my parents never apologized or said thank you to me. Never. And they still don't understand why I do it to my boys. Because I make lots of mistakes. Anything else people can take back and do tomorrow. Anything else? Go ahead. Yes. Wayne.
When making a decision or choose a decision or solving a problem, consider the human component first.
Consider the human implication of your decisions before you do anything else in the world in which we live, which is the social age. It's not true in the industrial age. It's not true in the Stone Age. As I was saying to my friends, if you build pyramids, you don't really care about human components. Doesn't make a difference. Let's get the pyramid built. If you build a building, it really doesn't matter much. But when you build relationships, you build social communications, it is the only thing that matters. Anything else? Sure. Celebrate your successes. Remind people when you do or they do well how important it was that they did it well. Here's the statistics behind that. As parents, we say 47-1 what you didn't do well. Clean up your room, you didn't do your homework, why didn't you clean up the dishes, take out the garbage. After 47 times we finally said to our kids, these are statistics, nice job. 47-1. Kindness counts when we have been habituated to be unkind and to not accept the fact that women bear the brunt of enabling us to support each other in a world. Anything else? Sure.
Be glad that you're there and excited about what you're doing because that rubs off on everybody.
Be glad that you're there and remember that it rubs off on everybody. Social media, social technologies are important. I leave you with the thought that everybody who was nice enough to come today is thinking about building a social enterprise. Let me explain the difference before we leave. You've all understood the concept of social media. How do we do it to engage customers and employees to innovate, to crowdsource, to co-create, to do things like that? That is not yet a social enterprise. A social enterprise is where every business process is fundamentally infused with these technologies, the practices we said, respect, smile, consideration, capabilities. That is a social enterprise. And it goes through every business process. Until organizations do that, they will underperform their true potential. Can I ask you all to stand up? I want to thank you all for everybody that came today, and that means you for coming today. And to help you all remember each other, I want you to turn to the person next to you around the table and now greet them with the rules we just suggested, as if they matter, as if you care about them, as if they're humans, as if you want to build a relationship. And then you remember one thing, you'll see them again because everybody will attend this session again next year and they'll go, wow, I'm so glad to see you again. I'm glad I called on you again. I'm glad you're here again. Treat them like family and loved ones and say hello to the person next to you again this time. I want to thank you. I want to thank you all very much. I want you to all give yourselves a standing ovation. I want you to remember how important you all are and that this really does matter to our future. Thank you all very much.